inviting all legislators to the chambers so that we can proceed with the full legislative calendar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask that you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Legislator Tom McKevin. Mike, could you please call the roll?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Roll call. Deputy Presiding Officer Howard Copel. Alternate Deputy Presiding Officer Denise Ford. Legislator Sheila Bino. Legislator Carrier Salage.
Here.
Legislator Deborah Muley. Legislator C. William Gaylord III. Thank you. Legislator John Giuffre.
Here.
Legislator Mazi Palip.
Here.
Legislator Delia DeRigi Witten. Legislator James Kennedy.
Here.
Thank you. Legislator Thomas McKevitt.
Here.
Legislator Laura Schaefer.
Here.
Legislator John Ferretti.
Here.
Legislator Arnold Drucker. Legislator Rosemarie Walker.
Here.
Thank you. Legislator Joshua Lafazan. And alternate presiding officer Denise Ford.
Here.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Welcome to this special meeting of the Nassau County Legislature. We have one item on the agenda for today. That is item 1, Resolution 24. It's a resolution approving a successor collective bargaining agreement via memorandum of understanding between the County of Nassau and the Nassau County Police Benevolent Association of the Police Department of the County of Nassau. Moved by Deputy Presiding Officer Copel, seconded by Legislator Ford. That puts the resolution before us, and I invite the administration to come up and make a presentation.
Good afternoon, legislators. I went over this briefly in the committees, but I'll just do a real high-level synopsis of the agreement. It's an 8.5-year term, which goes from 1/1/18 to 2026. It conforms to the collective bargaining pattern with the other bargaining units. It fits within the multi-year plan and is in the budget for this year. The summary of what the terms are is general wage increases of 1% for 2018 to 2021, 2.5% for 2022 to 2023, and 3% for 2024 and 25. There is a stipend of $6,480 for officers with 6 years of service, and another senior stipend for officers with 15 years of service for $3,750. There's a new salary chart for new hires. There is a health contribution, which is 2% of base earnings in 2021, 2.25 in 2022, and 2.25 to 2023 and thereafter. There is a health care buyback, which is consistent. We have 4 additional appearances that will be made by each member. Sick leave for incumbents will be reduced by 2 days for 2023, and the termination is capped at 1.15 for new members, and 18 sick days will be earned annually for the new members. And the agreement resolves several grievances with the police department, and I think for both parties, I think this was an amicable way of doing it. It gives the men and women in blue a fair and equitable contract that fits the pattern and is funded within the county's financial plan. I'm here to field any questions on the merits of the financial piece of it. So,
I think you started off with saying that it fits within the pattern that's been established for
That's
collective
correct.
bargaining. In fact, Mr. DeLavison was involved and present for negotiations.
the county worked coordinated with Mr. DeLavison so that we could get it through NIFA quickly. So,
What is the estimated net cost to?
we've estimated at $158.5 million over the total life of the deal.
One question I had was curious about is there's these retroactive increases going back to, I guess, beginning of 2018, but they don't get paid for some of those increases.
No, they do. That's just going to be a one-time payment is what it's going to be. So,
Can you explain that?
give me 1 second. I
Yeah.
gotta go with my... There is no retroactivity for any pay raises prior to 2021. So they're getting the money, but it's just not going to be called retroactive raises. So
Okay.
it's confusing, I
Yeah,
know.
it's
It's just-
confusing. And any way you could describe that in other terms that could be more understandable to us? So they are getting the increase that they
But it's not retroactive wage. It's going to be like a lump sum payment in 2023 is what it will be like. That's the best way I can describe it.
So that there's no compounding effect, is that what?
In essence, yes. So
All right. Other questions?
So on the back pay, the retroactive, so we're going to pay that in 2023?
Correct.
How much is that going to come to?
it's going to come to approximately, based on the staff summary, I could say 7, 9, 19, around $40 million is what it'll be.
All right, now we take care of the back pay, from 2018 to present?
Correct.
Okay, 40 million?
Right.
Okay, and then with this, looking at, I guess, the pay that they get for so many years, serving, whatever, what about the body cameras? Is that included in this, or is that a separate?
The body cameras were done as a separate MOA in 2021 or 2020.
And
That's a $3,000 stipend that they get for wearing the cameras.
Okay, so that's still in
That's
effect.
separate and apart from this.
So that wouldn't be part of the contract?
Correct.
That's something else that
It
was
was a
done.
separate
Oh.
MOA that was derived as a result of the body cameras.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Legislator Schaefer.
Hi, Andy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I understand that if you opt out of health coverage, you get a $4,000 or you get $4,000 for waiving family coverage and $2,000 for individual. Is that each year that if you decide to opt out, you get it each year?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, that was my only question.
So Andy, you've changed the number of steps, correct? So it's a longer time period before the officers reach their highest.
Yes, we've lengthened it from 9 to 11.
And new hires, there's certain requirements that are going into effect for new hires alone, correct?
That's where the steps get expanded for the new, so.
Okay. But what else do the new hires subject to that
They're getting less sick days, and the term pay is capped at 1.5. So they only get 18 sick days versus 26, which is now 24 for this period. One of the gives backs was that, so.
And I think you may have mentioned this, but there are additional tours that are required?
Or additional tours that are required by membership.
Tell me a little bit about this. There's also a stipends involved, correct?
Correct. So there's two stipends, one for a 6-year officer, which is $64.80. After 6 years, that's what you're entitled to. And then anybody after 15 years gets $37.50. Just curious, why is it done that way as opposed to, factoring into steps and things of that nature? Collective bargaining, as I'm learning, it's a very unique way of doing things. I think this was how we could meet in the middle on some of the other issues that we had, and this was the most equitable and fair way that we came up to meeting the pattern.
Okay.
So, having been in part of the room for some of these things, this was the best way we saw fit to get this deal done. So,
okay, thank you, Andy.
thank you.
Any other questions? You got.
Okay, and then just as a follow-up to the presiding officer, in regard to then the stipend, is that issued as a separate check to the officer, or is that something that's incorporated into their pay?
It's part of their base wages, base earnings, so it'll be part of their biweekly checks.
And they get that, but it's an annual payment though, right?
No, it's going to be paid over 26 pay periods.
So 26 divided into 64.80 or whatever it is.
Exactly. It's going to be part of their biweekly wages. Like we get paid biweekly, it would be part of
Right, so then
part
it
of
would
that.
just be a high base. Okay, thanks.
Legislator Bino, Minority Leader Abrahams, then Legislator Schaefer.
Okay, thank you. Just where it went up to an extra 2 days of training. Oh, yeah, I thought, all right. Is that in addition to the 5 days that we had when we did the, I guess we call it the police reform?
I don't think the training days for police reform and this are separate and apart. I would say they have to do 4 additional appearances, of which some of them can be used for training days. So the training that they will have to do as part of the police reform is separate and apart from this agreement.
Okay.
So this is giving us a means to offset some of the costs that are associated with this deal. So they give us 4 additional appearances. We deem what they can be used for training and other things, but it's just a way to offset some of the costs that are associated with this.
Okay, and that's in addition to the 5 days. So now we're going to have a total of 7 days.
I don't want to confuse. One is collectively bargained out. One is mandated by police reform. So the fact of the matter is these appearances, these 4, are separate and apart from the police reform. We have to do 5 days. I don't know the bill in the police reform, but I'm just saying they have to do 5 training days that are included as part of their routine tours that they have to do. So
Okay, so that's good. I mean, I think it's a positive because hopefully, I know we wanted to try to bring in some more training, and
I get
if
it.
they need for mental health training, whatever we can do. I'd like to see. I'm actually happy that that's included. So now if I'm correct, I think we have now a total of, it would be 7 days. So we could hopefully really utilize that to help our officers as well as our community. Okay.
No, I was going to say something,
All
but
right,
I'll
I
leave it,
understand
so.
it's not really your.
I'm going to say the police department knows better about the training days than what they utilize for. I'm sure there's more than 4 that they do. There's multiple of things that they're doing as far
All
as
right,
training
and
days.
just my last quick question. Have you had any feedback from NIFA?
They're aware of the deal. I would think that the fact that we used one of the negotiators was involved in it, I think they're receptive to what's happening, but I don't want to speak for them in the board, but I do believe that I think that this should pass the sniff test, for lack of a better thing, with NIFA.
All right, so that's also a positive.
Yep.
Thank you, Andy.
Minority Leader Abrahams.
How are you, Andy?
Good afternoon, my
Good.
leader.
Good. I just want to make sure I'm clear on the topic of the reopener. And I want to just piggyback a little bit on the presiding officer's questions in regards to the stipend versus the step. If I'm understanding you correctly, I'm not going to get into the negotiations between yourself and between the county and the PBA, but if I understand you correctly, that this was a fairer, more equitable way to do the compensation for police officers by doing a stipend rather than a step, correct? Or included in the steps?
I would say it was part of the whole process, yes.
Okay. Was that process incorporated into the SOA or the DAI contracts?
I can't mix the deals up because there was different nuances in each of the other two collective bargaining units. But let me just answer the question as best I can. I don't think there's anything in this agreement that will strike a reopener with the other collective bargaining units.
Okay.
Because it fits the pattern of the 1476, and that's basically the nutshell of how all these collective bargaining units would, these MOAs and MOUs would derive. So
I guess that's really the nut of this. So walk me through that so I can understand it better.
well, I think, let me put it to you this way. We've established pattern bargaining, which is what we've established, and we came up with a number that meets the criteria for both the county and NIFR as far as what pattern bargaining would look like, and that is 1476. So each one of these labor deals has nuances that fit within the 1476. They will vary based on appearances, other things that would give back, but that's what the premise of the 1476 and pattern bargaining is. So we came up, we do a costing sheet, and it says we value this at 1476. Both sides agree to it, and that's how we get to the 1476. And this agreement, along with the other previous agreements, conform to the 1476.
Okay.
So
And Mr. DeLaverson agrees that the county followed the 1476 pattern.
yes, he
as
did.
well. Okay. And just for the record, Mr. DeLaverson was a part of the SOA and DAI negotiations between those collective bargaining units.
Yes, he
as well.
was.
Okay. All right. Just give me a second, make sure this covered all my topics. Nothing further for now, President Officer.
Thanks. Legislator Schaefer.
I'm fine
Oh,
anyway.
She's good.
go
So
ahead.
you're all right, thanks for now, Andy. I think.
Thank you.
Stick around. To
Yeah,
go
we'll
to
be
the-
here, don't worry.
Okay, appreciate it. I'd like to invite Maurice Chalmers up from the Office of Legislative Budget Review.
Maurice Chalmers, Budget Review. You want me to go over the numbers?
Yes.
Okay. We did a quick costing of the MOU also, and we came up with approximately $167.1 million in the cost. In terms of what's in the budget did anticipate this contract, this MOU, and there is sufficient funding to cover this MOU in the budget.
I should probably have asked Andy this, but what about the four-year plan?
The multi-year plan builds off the 2023 budget and carries through also,
Okay,
yes.
so you think, so this,
Yes.
Yes, the multi-year plan included the collective bargaining settlements for this year and the out years too.
so it's within the parameters of that plan?
Correct. That NIFR approved in October of last year. So these collective bargaining units were included in the multi-year plan.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Maurice? Sure.
How are you, Maurice?
Very well, thank you. Yourself.
So based on your report, and I know just based on what you just said, the cost over 8.5 years is 167.1
Correct.
as per your office. And I don't know if you had a chance to review what OMB had provided, but obviously they had the cost a little bit lower at 158.5. And I just wanted you, for the record, just to clarify the difference between those
Correct.
two
They
numbers.
had it at 158.5, which is 8.6 million. We have 8.6 million more. When we did our costing, we use inflators for the additional cost for term pay, differential in some other course, we use higher inflators than they did. And that's truly the difference between our course and their course.
So there's no cost in the contract that you see that they just underestimated, other than the inflators, that's tied to?
That is correct. We agree with it, with their projection, is just that we use higher inflators.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Maurice.
Welcome.
Okay. Any other questions for Maurice? Thank you. That's it, right? No more presentations from the administration? All right. Any public comment? Before we proceed, I wanted to extend my congratulations to President of the PBA, Thomas Shevlin. I understand this contract passed his membership by a vote of 93%. I think, as presented by the administration, is confirmed by the Office of Legislative Budget Review. This is a fair, equitable contract, and it fits within the pattern bargaining that's been established by NIFA. So I think it's in the interest of our county residents to approve this deal. So, does anyone else want to add anything?
On behalf of our caucus, as well, I mean, obviously this is going through a very, very stringent criteria. The 1476 pattern demonstrates for the county and and quite frankly for our taxpayers that there are no potential reopeners. I think that's the most important thing, is that right now all of these agreements are within the budget constraints of the county, and we want to make sure that it remains that way. And at the same time, it provides fair and equitable contracts to our police officers. So from our standpoint, we see the same way, and we plan to vote in the affirmative for this contract as well.
Thank you. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes by a vote of 18 to nothing.
Just Steve.
Steve, yeah.
Blank space.
Motion to adjourn. Legislator,
So moved.
nobody wants to. Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator Phillip. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? We're adjourned. We'll go right into the Rules Committee. Okay, thanks. All right, so we'll go into the Rules Committee. Mike, can you call the roll for the Rules Committee?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Roll call. Rules Committee. Legislator Sela Bino. Thank you. Legislator Delia Dirigi-Witten. Ranking Member Kavan Abrahams. Legislator Laura Schaefer. Legislator John Giuffre. Vice Chairman Howard Copel. Chairman Richard Nicolello.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So again, as we always do, we'll do the contracts first on the Rules Committee. I'm not going to call E6 of 2023. I'm going to recuse myself on that, so I'll save that for the end, and then that can be called when I'm out of the room. So here we go. E7, E8, E9, E11, E12, E13, E14, E16, E17 of 2023. These are all resolutions authorizing the county executive to execute personal services agreements or amendments to personal services agreements between the County of Nassau and Law Office of Vincent McNamara, Oric, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, Cuomo LLC, Lamon Bonoski, Bond Shenik, Nassau County Vocational Education and Extension Board, Bonadio and Company, Mayor Hoffman, and Nassau Energy. And E15 of 2003 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a sponsorship agreement between the county and Jovia Financial Credit. Motion by Deputy Presiding Officer Copel, seconded by Minority Leader Abrahams. That's before us. First contract that we're going to call is with Emergency Management, and it's E13 of 2023. It's with VEB. Good
Good afternoon. Tom Delaney, Nassau County OEM, here to talk about a contract renewal that is up for approval for VEB, Vocational Education Extension Board. We use Homeland Security grant funds to pay for specialized training that VEB affords to members of our volunteer fire service. So this contract renewal is two things. One, the renewal. Two, we're making a partial encumbrance of $350,000, as I said, in all 100% grant funded.
Okay, this is grant funding that supplements the budgeted amounts for VEB, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The grant funding, can you tell me how it compares to previous years?
Actually, this year we had a little bit of funding left that had not been spent down, so we're encumbering $350,000. Previous years had been $300,000. And going forward, would expect to return back to $300,000, unless, of course, we have funds remaining.
Okay. But how does it compare to previous contracts? Are they getting less grant funding, same, more?
Well, like I said, this year we had a little bit of money left over, in our grants that need to be closed out. We had a lot of delays in getting our grants spent down because of COVID and other, supply chain issues. So that's why we're affording them $350 this year. But every other year it had been $300. So there's no decrease in the amount of funding that we are affording to VEB.
Is that right? Okay. I was told that they were going down from 1.1 million per year to 825,000.
That's because in the first 3 years of the contract, when I did it, I tried to be optimistic about the potential for funding. We could afford them and just put that allowance. I always budget a little more than I have to if I can. But it doesn't mean that that's what they're going to get.
So in previous years, the amount was 1.1 million per year, and this year it's 825.
Well, again, it's just the first 3 years, that 1.1 represents what I would call an optimistic amount.
Right.
This one now, by reducing it, it brings it into a realistic value for what we can actually afford them over the full 6-year period of this contract.
All right. So at any point, were they receiving 1.1 million in funding from the grant?
No. Again, that was just budgeted per se in the contract as being an optimistic value. If money became available that, above the $300,000.
Okay. So the 825 is a more realistic number.
Very much so.
And is that not just realistic, but is that a number that they're actually going to get?
Well, they will. The encumbrance right now is actually for the 3rd year of the original contract. It's just through a lot of let's call it an oversight. We thought the contract expired at the end of December this year,
Right.
but it expired at the end of December 21.
Okay.
And they had, they get the claim that they provide to us. I'm not making it up. They are the two claims are this thick.
Right.
It's a lot to go through to audit to ensure controllers will accept it.
Okay. So I'm just making sure that they're not actually receiving a decrease in funding as a result of this proposal.
No, sir. They would, and as long as I'm at the helm on the grants stuff here, I'm going to do the best I can to ensure that they stay funded at this level.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for? No? Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, the contract is with the Comptroller's Office and the Bonadio Group.
Good afternoon, Mr. Majority Leader, legislators. My name is Charlie Casolaro, Chief Counsel to the Comptroller. You have before you an amendment between the County of Nassau and the Bonadio Group for additional funding. The Bonadio Group helps Nassau County and the Comptroller's Office each year prepare its ACFR, which is Annual Comprehensive Financial Reports. That document is used in our auditing reporting. There's an increase in funding for 2 reasons. One, the tightening of what we call GASB rules, the Government Standards Accounting Board, they've tightened some of their rules and made some their deadlines a little tighter, adding more work for the Bonadio Group. And the depth and the level and of the county and the complexity of the county's finances has also increased the work on the Bonadio Group. And after speaking with the Comptroller's Office, they've asked for additional funding. Their funding for the new year, the additional funding will be just $30,675 for this year. The Comptroller's Office thinks that's not terribly significant. The Bonadio Group does good work, and we'd ask for this amendment to be approved.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Next contract is with Parks and E15, a sponsorship with Jovia Financial.
Good afternoon, Darcy Bellier, Parks Commissioner. This item is a sponsorship agreement between the county and Jovia Financial Credit Union. It's a revenue-producing agreement in the amount of $60,000. Jovia was the title sponsor of the 2022 Summer Concert Series at Lakeside Theater in Eisenhower Park, and the term of this agreement ended on August 31st, 2022.
This is an increase.
Increase, yes.
And this is for the theater. I mean the concert series.
At Eisenhower, yes, in the summer.
Okay. I mean, there was talk of trying to attain other sponsorships. This does not preclude us from doing so.
Absolutely not. The more the merrier.
Right. Okay. Any questions for Dawson? Sure. Minority Leader Abrahams.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So, if I understand this, it's this agreement. It's a revenue generated agreement.
Correct.
Which I guess that criteria is a little bit different than what we normally do.
Correct.
Here in the legislature. So, I asked the question because we noticed in the backup that I guess there's no disclosure forms.
Correct.
For any of the principals. Can you elaborate on why?
So typically, these permits don't, these agreements are a use and occupancy permit, which we don't typically bring before you. But I chose to simply because it's revenue and full transparency is the way to always go. And Jovia, as we know, is an entity whose principals are its account holders. So when they began the process of completing the principal questionnaires, they realized it was unrealistic to have all of their account holders fill them out. So I referred it to the county attorney's office, and the affidavit was the route that was chosen to be taken in lieu of not being able to have every principal fill out the principal questionnaire.
Okay. So I understand your appreciation for transparency, but I can't recall a contract or an agreement where we didn't provide the complete disclosures. So am I missing something? I understand that it's revenue generating, and I understand that it's a use and occupancy agreement, but I'm not too sure.
I just wanted to step in. My name is Tom Montefinis. I'm from the county attorney's office. So essentially, this is a unique agreement. It's kind of a hybrid. We process them as UNOs. We structure them as UNOs. They're really sponsorship agreements. Generally, these sponsorship agreements have not gone before the legislature. We haven't required disclosure forms for these agreements. We took that model because this is revenue generating, though, and because it is structured as a UNO with the ordinance requiring there to be legislative approval because we're receiving the revenue. We did come before the legislature on this. We said, hey, we got to go in front of the legislature. That said, we still are considering this a sponsorship agreement. We have spoken to the IG's office. We've spoken to procurement. We're actually taking this under consideration because this is such a unique kind of thing that we're encountering that we haven't really contemplated this before. We're considering putting into place policies and procedures to address this kind of agreement going forward. So we were going to take the IG under consideration. We were going to take suggestions from the procurement and address this going forward. But that's why we did accept the affidavit in lieu. We have Jovia, they're reputable. They've been working in Long Island for 84 years, and yeah.
So, but I guess what I'm asking is, and where I'm driving at is that there are other principals at Jovia other than the one that's in the backup, correct?
Well, my understanding is that it is run credit unions. All the members are principals. They're all considered principals.
But they have a board.
They have a board.
Okay, and that board is representative of multiple different people that make decisions. The account holders don't make the general decisions of the credit union, do they?
No, they don't. However, as I said before, we were modeling this after our previous sponsorship agreements, which we didn't require.
Which agreements were those?
I'm sorry,
Which agreements were those?
TD Bank previously, in previous years also Jovia as well.
The one with TD Bank, I don't recall it. When was that passed in the legislature?
I don't believe it was, because it's a sponsorship agreement. It wasn't structured in a manner that it was coming before the legislature. It wasn't revenue producing. The key difference here is that this one was revenue producing versus previous years where it wasn't revenue producing, which is why we went.
And I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
100%. So there's never been an agreement which has been revenue producing that's been a sponsorship agreement that has come to the legislature.
Not that I have seen, that we have seen in the county attorney's office that we put before, that it's been structured in this manner. So this is, like I said, this is a unique agreement. This is a unique circumstance. It's retroactive as well that we're looking at. So that's why going forward, we wanted to assess the situation because it came up, and now we're looking to put policy in place, put procedure in place, so that way going forward we can see exactly how we're going to approach these agreements, because hopefully we're going to have a lot more coming down in the future. So,
but I would strongly suggest, and I'm going to ask that the IG come up as well. I would strongly suggest that we just follow the format that's already there. That's part of our law. That disclosures are made for all principals.
So the key difference here that, well, one, it would be everyone would have to, all the members would have to disclose if we were going to have all principals disclosing. The affidavit was submitted, which the county did request these forms. They pointed out, the Jovia pointed out, and we agree, that this is a different agreement because of the sponsorship, because of the way it's structured. So our position was that the disclosure forms aren't required under this circumstance. We are required legislative approval.
So is that this is the opinion of the county attorney's office that all of the account holders need to file a disclosure?
That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, based on the structure of this agreement, sponsorship agreements generally do not require disclosure forms. Because this particular sponsorship agreement is coming before the legislature,
Yes.
we asked for the disclosure forms. They pointed out, Jovia pointed out, and they provided us with the affidavit. However, the affidavit, and as we have done past precedent and historically, we didn't require the disclosure forms.
But those weren't agreements, weren't revenue generating that are here before the legislature.
No, but they were still structured as sponsorship agreements, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We require that disclosures are made when they're coming to the legislature as well. I haven't seen, what I'm trying to say is that there has not been an agreement that has come to this legislative body without the proper disclosures. We bring this up all the time.
Well, when it's categorized as a contract, that's when we were bringing it before the legislature, and that's when we're requiring the disclosure forms.
I'm sorry.
Technically,
I'm sorry. Isn't this contract E1523?
Well, it's being presented as a contract. The way the procedure
Yes.
and the process that we're going through
Yes.
is that we're seeking legislative approval. However, we still are looking at it from the sponsorship agreement perspective. We're still looking at it as a sponsorship agreement. We're receipt of funds.
Got it.
Yeah, it's a UNO.
So, all right, I don't think we're going anywhere. We're spinning around. Who came up with the affidavit? Did your office come up with the affidavit? Did the Parks Department come with the affidavit? Who drafted the affidavit?
The affidavit was submitted by Jovia.
So they came up with their own form on what they were going to disclose.
Well, we just accepted that form. We accepted it in lieu, but we don't require there to be disclosure forms in this circumstance. And as I said, we wanted to, this is a unique circumstance that we're encountering here because of the way it's structured, the way these sponsorship agreements historically have been presented to the county, that we want to put in policy, we want to put in procedure to take into account for this. Because it's different. It is slightly different than our regular run-of-the-mill contract, our regular run-of-the-mill UNOs, where we're constantly receiving revenue, where we issue the UNO and there's a constant flow of this revenue. That's not what's happening here. It's a one-off. We go in, they provide the sponsorship, we provide the sponsorship, we provide the marketing, they're giving us the revenue, and that's it. Once it's over, it's over. So now we're kind of in this situation where we want to address these contracts. Hopefully, like I said, we're going to have a lot more going forward, but, you know.
But I mean, I don't want to get into hypotheticals, but the same example, I mean, obviously, many of us know Jovia up here. We know them as a credit union that's established in the county. I believe they have branches in Westbury? West Branch? Yeah, I believe I haven't banked there, but I'm familiar with them. But the same example, somebody else wants to enter into a sponsorship agreement with the county, who's someone that's maybe not that reputable, someone that has, a speculative past. And that person finds this contract or this agreement a loophole where I don't have to disclose all the principles of where I generate money. I don't have to disclose the criminal history, if any, with other levels of government. I just think that's setting up a really bad precedent.
Well, I think this is, as I have said before, this is not going to be setting precedent on that term. This Jovia has been in the county for 84 years. They've been operating on Long Island. This is a reputable vendor. There's no adverse information that has come up on this vendor.
But we don't know that, though. How do we know that? Explain to me how we know that.
So the IG did investigate.
So now I'd like to bring up the IG, because we don't know that.
Good afternoon.
How are you, Jody?
I'm good. Sorry, Minority Leader. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you as well. So you did a background check on Jovia, and you didn't see anything in there?
No, we did that. We actually hadn't seen these types of agreements in the last 4 years and almost 1 month now. And we were told that they weren't prior styled as contracts. They were styled as some sort of resolution that doesn't make it through my office. But at the end of the day, we always do our checks. So we absolutely did a background check with Jovia to see if anything was going on or anything we should be concerned about accepting money from that particular company. We didn't find anything.
Okay. And your check was based off of what Jovia disclosed, or did you go deeper?
No. We did our own checks. With every vendor that we review, we have several checks, going into about a dozen checks in all different places to see if anything we need to be concerned about here in the county.
Okay. Now, in regards to the disclosures, Jody, because I know I noticed you recommended yes. Generally, when it comes to the disclosures, we've seen a more healthier product of disclosures that indicates a whole wealth of information. This was very limited. But I noticed your office recommended yes. So how did just connect the dots for me?
I will. I absolutely will. So initially, our office had concerns about this item. We were concerned about a possible precedent setting. That a vendor could just say, "No, thanks. We're going to do an affidavit." Instead. We were also concerned about the possibility that it would carry over into other revenue contracts for the county. That if the company is giving us money, we're not going to, stick with the with the disclosure forms that the chief procurement officer in the county, spent a lot of time working on. So we were concerned about that. We did have some meetings. Well, we had a meeting with the representatives from the county attorney's office and the chief procurement officer, and we spoke with the parks commissioner. It appears that this is going to be somewhat of a discrete transaction in the sense that the vendor or the company is going to provide the county money for a concert series that occurred last summer. So it's retro too, which makes it even more fun. So at this point, we went through everything and we landed on that. From what we heard from the county attorney's office, they had assurances to us that this was not going to be a precedent. This was not going to go forward as never mind the disclosure forms. And we also suggested and recommended to them that the next time something like this happens, a sponsorship agreement like this, that they should have a policy in place to address it, so that we're not sitting around going, where are the disclosure forms? There should be a process that should be followed.
Yeah, I would think that the process would be to, I mean, one, I still haven't got a clear understanding on why the board can't file disclosures. But that's number one, and that's a question I guess anyone can stand up and answer. But the next question I have is, I think we need to have a standardized approach so that we're not caught, trying to figure, because this is a retro contract, number one. So they provided us, but they provided, I'm guessing this contract's really just for us to accept the money.
Yes.
So this is passed already.
Yes.
So in essence, if this legislative body votes no, we're basically saying no to $60,000 also. Even though this is long gone already. They get the thing, they got what they wanted last summer for free, basically, if I'm understanding this correctly. So it really puts this legislative body in a really tough spot. Because one, we don't want to say no to $60,000, but at the same time, no, we don't want to accept $60,000, and I don't know who the principals are. I don't know who the board of directors are. I don't know their connection to anyone else. We don't know any of that. I don't know if any of them have been brought up on criminal charges. Nothing. We don't know anything. So it puts us in a really difficult spot. So I'm concerned. From your office, you've accepted us this. You have recommended that we accept this, but at the same time, we don't have the information to be able to make, I think, a very sound decision, because we don't know who those principals are.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and I was informed by, I believe, I'm sorry, Robert, the chief procurement officer, that Jovia's principals can't donate and things like that. Am I wrong?
Mr. Cleary, please.
Okay.
You can
So-
come to the microphone.
Because one of the forms was the political contribution form, so this might be a better answer than what I have. But.
Okay.
Robert Cleary, Chief Procurement and Compliance Officer. I just want to mention that we did vet the vendor before presenting the item. Found no adverse information, as was said. We didn't review disclosure forms, but they are in New York City Passport, including principal questionnaires and other information. They were clean. They have no cautions. There's no signs of any reason to be concerned about this vendor. It's a highly regulated industry. As Jody was just mentioning, there are prohibitions for federal credit unions regarding political campaign contributions, although I cannot speak to the particulars in this particular case. And in this particular case, the transaction, effectively, the responsibility of the vendor is to hand a check to us that doesn't bounce. They're not receiving anything, beyond the advertisement that, as you said, was already provided. So this is a fundamentally different kind of animal, I think, in a lot of ways than the contracts we're generally talking about.
So it sounds like to me, based on what I'm able to surmise, that in this particular case, we just didn't follow the disclosures because this is a revenue-generating contract, and obviously Jovia is an entity that we didn't feel fit perfectly into us being able to get those level of disclosures. So one, I would strongly suggest and recommend that we come up with a standardized process in terms of how we're going to get disclosures for these types of agreements. Because what we got today, an affidavit from one principal, is not sufficient. We voted for and put forward this legislation to make sure that transparency was there, even when the county is generating revenue, not just when we're making expenditures. So from our standpoint, we need to see it on both ends, and it clearly was not given on this end. Second, our legislative office would need to be a part of, if there are any changes to the actual legislation to make this more standardized, we want to be able to work with the majority as well as with the county executive to make sure we do so. But today, as of right now, I'm having a hard time voting yes for this because I don't know all the principles, and I think we have in some cases, chose expediency, because this is a late contract, over transparency. And that's never going to be acceptable in the history of this county as it pertains to different levels of corruption. So I'm going to recommend to my side that we vote against for the reasons that we have indicated before. And at the same time, I'm going to recommend to the county executive that we put forward agreements, whether they're revenue generating or similar ones to this, because it sounds like to me there are more retro agreements coming. And if there's going to be more retro agreements, then we need to see a standardized and approach those pretty quickly.
I'm not aware of any retro agreements similar to this one that are coming, although I can't state unequivocally that there are none. This is the only one that I'm aware of. We do believe that a policy should be established. Going through this process, we've identified that the fact that we don't have a policy has caused this problem. This is it's a very unique situation
But
that
Mr. Cleary,
we intend to avoid as well.
In some ways, I agree with you that we don't have a standardized policy, but instead of doing more, we chose to do the absolute minimum. So since we don't have an actual standardized policy, rather than trying to get disclosures from the board, rather than to do a deeper dive and ask them for some of the very tough questions that come up in some of the disclosures in regards to history, we chose not to. We accepted an affidavit from them, from one principal, indicating everything's all good. Of their form, really. It's Jovia's form, not even ours. So it may have omitted questions that we normally indicate on our disclosure.
Well, I don't want to rely, generally speaking, on New York City's information, but as I said, they are in Passport. There's a lot of information in there, and there were no adverse events to report in that system.
I understand. Okay. Nothing further, President Officer.
Okay. Thank you. I think we all agree that a policy has to be developed and standardized practice for receipt of sponsorships going forward. Having said that, we've had the review from the County Attorney's Office, from Mr. Cleary, from the Inspector General. You're dealing with a federal credit agency that's highly regulated. The possibility of a conflict is not as high. It's not the same. They're not receiving a financial benefit from the county. They're not receiving funds for goods or services provided. And the concern I have is if we adopt a hypothetical interpretation of some of our requirements, you could be in a position of discouraging monies that people might want to donate to our county because they're going to have to go through a cumbersome process that everyone who does it complains about. So again, in this case, the principals are every member of the federal credit union. So to be in full compliance, do we have to get every account holder? If not, then you're dealing with a board of directors that has a number of people, as well as executive management, supervisory committee. And are they all going to want to undergo this process? For example, campaign contributions, they can't make them. They're members of federal credit unions. So we're going to force them to go through that process. And ultimately, again, my concern would be if we do this hypothetical requirement for every possible scenario, regardless of how it actually operates, are we going to discourage people from making sponsorships? Are we going to deprive the county of revenues that help offset the tax burdens of our taxpayers? So, but I do agree completely with what has been said by the minority leader as well as by Mr. Cleary and the county attorney that there has to be a policy, there has to be directives that we would like to see before you go forward. So before any further one of these contracts or agreements is considered, we'll have to see that from the county attorney's office, et cetera.
That became very apparent to us through this process. And I also just want to comment that there is no further retroactives coming forward with regard to a sponsorship agreement. And I initially was not going to put it before Ledge, but then, or rules, I should say. But then on advice of the county attorney's office, that's why we're here. And then as we went through the process, the need for a policy became very apparent to us.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Thank
Okay,
you.
Darcy, thank you. All right, so why don't we'll continue with the rest of the contracts, but before we do that, why don't we vote on this right now? Again, this is E15 of 2023, contract with Jovia Financial Credit Union. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, passes by a vote of 4-3. Public Works, E16 and E17. We have Mayor Hoffman as well as Nassau Energy.
Mr. Majority Leader, again, Charlie Casolaro, Chief Counsel to the Comptroller. E16 is a Comptroller contract tied in with the Department of Public Works.
Okay.
Meyer Hoffman are the external auditors for the county. They provide our annual mandated audit, provide our financial management letter, provide our single federal audit that's required, and other services. This is an amendment to increase the amount of money for additional services that to assist the Department of Public Works. They have state contracts and grants that require audits separate and apart from the county audits. And working with them, we've negotiated with Meyer Hoffman to increase their contract by the sum of $60,000. It is needed, and I'll ask Commissioner Arnold if you'll say anything further.
Yeah, this was associated with the money we get from New York State for our road improvement projects, specifically to our consultants that work for us. We're required to provide an independent audit of their work.
Okay. Any questions? No, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have the next contract is with Nassau Energy, LLC.
I'm going to call up Josh Myers to present the item.
Hello, Josh.
Good afternoon, Chairman. How are you?
Good. Good.
Good afternoon, legislators. Josh Meyer, outside counsel for the county, West Group Law, 81 Main Street, White Plains, New York, 10601. Before you today is an operation and maintenance agreement with Nassau Energy, LLC, to operate and maintain the county's district energy system and the central utility plant, which is located across from the Coliseum and the Marriott Hotel, across Charles Lindbergh Boulevard. That's to provide hot and chilled water to provide heating and cooling to 9 customers within the county. Those customers are the Coliseum, the Marriott, Nassau Community College, the 3 museums, the Cradle of Aviation, the Firefighters Museum, and the Children's Museum, as well as Nassau University Medical Center, and the Aquatic Center, and the county's Technical Services building. This is basically a continuation in a sense that Nassau Energy's operated the county's district energy system pursuant to a lease for the last 25 years. So this is a short-term operation and maintenance agreement, allowing the county to negotiate possibly a longer-term agreement with Nassau Energy or go back out to the market. Just by way of finances, the cost to the county would be $9.9 million annually. $6.6 million of that would be reimbursed by the non-county customers, so it will cost the county $3.3 million annually.
Is one of the reasons that it's a short contract is because there's potential development of the Coliseum property itself that would increase the demand for energy?
Yes, in part. So after the 25-year lease that was entered into with Nassau Energy, we did come back to it was extended by 2 additional years to continue negotiations. We actually came back one other time for a 6-month extension, and we've been month to month with Nassau Energy since that time. Obviously, COVID happened, prices increased based on the previous agreements that we had negotiated with them. But it's also in turn to determine what happens across the street at the Coliseum hub site.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you, Josh.
All right, thank you very much.
Next contracts with the county attorney's office. Right, Brian, you're not going to talk about B6 yet. You can stop it. The first
Understood.
contract with Vincent McNamara, we're going to do that later.
So E7.
E7, yes.
E7 is an amendment to a contract with the law office of Vincent McNamara. This amendment adds $73,000, bringing it to a total of $200,000. If you have any questions, happy to answer the same.
Nope. Go on, move on.
E8 is an extension to a contract with Oric, and Andy Persick from Budget is going to speak to that as it's really Budget's contract.
Good afternoon. This is an extension in terms for ORIC, our bond counsel. They provide numerous services for us, especially during our bond deals, and they have been here as long as I can remember. So,
Okay. Any questions? Nope.
thank you.
Next one's with Cuomo LLC. Yes, this is a contract, it's a new contract with Cuomo LLC for $81,950 to handle the trial in the case known as Michael Smith.
Okay. Did the trial take place already? Because, I mean, I'm looking at the term, which was to commence on July 1st, 2022.
The trial did not take place. The file was very active and being handled by our office, but a determination was made to send it out. Some work has commenced, but very limited to my understanding, just some conferences, and the work is really the trial in chief is what they were brought on for.
It seems to me that we constantly get these contracts after the commencement date. I'm asking the county attorney's office to provide us a list of contracts that where the term has commenced, but you have yet to bring it to to the legislature. So whatever is out there pending, I'd like to see that list, because we'd like to get these things updated as much as possible. And it just seems like there's a never-ending supply of cases in which you come to us for approval of firms that have done work for 6 months, 8 months, or longer.
I believe that your statement is accurate, and we will certainly, I will advise the county attorney, and we will provide the list. And I would just add that the fine people that spoke before me, the director of procurement and the IG, are sort of familiar with the myriad of procurement steps that our office has to go through. And then, of course, we need to balance that with our statutory obligation to defend the county vigorously and zealously, which we do, of course. So those two issues do come into play, but I will certainly advise the county attorney as you requested.
Okay, thanks. Sure, go ahead.
Just a quick note, and I know this may not directly pertain to this particular contract, but I'm going to bring it up in the same vein because it does have some type of connection. It was stated to us that the Deputy County Executive Fox, and I know this one has not reached trial or anything of that magnitude yet, but going down the road and figuring out where it will end up, it was specified to us by Deputy County Executive Fox that she would be able to provide to this legislative body in executive session a resolution of what has transpired between the officer and the county in terms of how we go forward. I'm looking fast forward into when, hopefully not in this case, but in general, when the legislature has to vote on the settlement. For far too long, when we are listening to the settlement, we don't hear the resolution on the employee side in terms of what is done to provide corrective action to make sure that does not happen again. Because it seems like some of these cases, it's the same actions over and over again. So it's nothing for us to do today per se, because I know this situation is a little bit different, but I figured I would bring it up because obviously it's an agreement that's centered around Nassau County Police Department, and I just want to make sure that we bring that note back to that to the to the deputy county executive that we are still waiting for that information when it comes up in executive session to make sure that we hear some type of corrective action resolution.
Understood.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? Nope. Okay, the next two are Lamb and Bonoski and Bon Shenik.
These are two, what I'll categorize as on-call labor contracts. These are similar in vein to the contract we did for Be Ready earlier this year. At this time, no money has been expended on these contracts.
Okay. Any questions on these two contracts? All right, thanks, Brian.
Did you want me to wait for E6? Or?
Yes. It'll be a couple minutes. Okay. Any public comment on the contracts that have been called thus far?
Me, J. Meriday, and unfortunately, the taxpayers don't get the access to all of the information and the background details that you all have. Just a couple of comments, and I appreciate Minority Leader Kavan Abrahams asking some questions with regard to particularly that Jovia contract, because again, I do feel that there is a need for initial directives and some idea as to how the taxpayer funds are being allocated and resources. Even though we're talking about sponsorships, there are ways that we can proactively bring in additional funds that won't make it too much of a hardship for those who want to provide that resource, but also we need more protections, clearly, with the background that's been happening here. And the fact that even in this documentation, we have a number of compromise and settlements. I've asked this question of this body previously with regard to exactly how much money has been compromised and settled in the last couple of years, and I think that is information that the public should be aware of. Again, that might be something that Newsday should be asking and promote that to the public. I also am concerned about the fact, again, that Minority Leader Abrahams brought to the forefront about the corrective actions that we seem to be settling on the same types of issues. If we're not learning from our mistakes and moving forward in a proactive way, that is of grave concern. So those are my points with that regard. And again, I'm still not hearing, or at least not seeing, the active participation or outreach for the service-disabled minority and women businesses and providing opportunities for same to be able to procure with these various contracts for the county. We have a $3.3 billion budget, and it still concerns me that the issue of diversity and inclusion is elusive here. So equity is also something that could be a potential far-reaching goal that brings, to mind. I've seen that there have been additions and supplements to various budgets, and I am again encouraging this body to look at addressing the increase of funding that our Veteran Services Agency needs. As I had brought to this body over a year ago, before the PACT bill was enacted, now that it's in place, our Veteran Services Agency, very hardworking, very dedicated, but the thousands of veterans that we have need more support services, high-level staff to address these issues, to bring that research and development funding to this area to better serve our residents. So it would be ideal if we could do that before there becomes a significant incident, or because of the billions of dollars of funding that's being allocated outside of this region, we're going to once again miss out on the opportunity that we need to do for our heroes and sheroes who have served this country so well. So again, the accountability, again, I'm requesting a listing of the actual settlements and where those settlement funds are actually coming from. And if we have depleted that particular account, again, the outreach for the diversity, I'd like for somebody to say that this contract has been awarded to a service-disabled veteran business or a minority and women veteran business, and they have an opportunity. They are the ones that largely create the jobs for their related constituencies. And the notion about potentially the development process at the Coliseum, let's just leave that up to the needs of the people and not the misguided directives of the administration. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'm going to call the following contracts for a vote: E13, E14, E15, E16, E17, E7, E8, E9, E11, and E12. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? They carry unanimously. Now I'm going to turn things over to the presiding officer, Copel.
We have one contract remaining, and that would be E6, which is a resolution authorizing the execution of an amendment.
Before you do that, just to correct the record, one of the contracts that I called for a vote just now was E15, which is actually had already been voted on by a vote of 4-3. So the record be clear that the contracts that we voted on a moment ago, was passed unanimously, did not include E15 of 2023. Thanks.
Okay, once again, there's one remaining contract, which is E6, authorizing execution of a personal services agreement between the county attorney and the law offices of Vincent D. McNamara. And there's a motion by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator Bino. Now, I would note, for the record, that the presiding officer has left the room. He will not be participating in any discussion or debate on this item, nor will he participate in any vote. Mr. Libbert.
Good afternoon, legislators. Brian Libbert, Deputy County Attorney. This is an amendment to a contract with the law office of Vincent McNamara for a series of cases which we sort of refer to globally as Dutch Broadway. As I said, this is a continuation of a contract. This amendment adds $314,741.72 to the contract, bringing the total to $500,054,741.72. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer the same.
Anyone? No. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of E6, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that item is unanimous. And the Rules Committee will now be in recess, and we'll proceed to, which one are we up to?
Public safety.
Public safety.
Good afternoon. At this time, I will call the Public Safety Committee to order, and I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Public Safety roll call. Legislator Debbie Roulet. Legislator Sheila Bino. Ranking Member Delia Dirigi-Witten. Legislator John Ferretti. Legislator Mazi Philippe. Vice Chairman Rose Walker. Chairwoman Denise Ford.
Here.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir. There is one item on the agenda today, which is clerk item number 43-23. Clerk item number 4323 is an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the police department. May I have a motion? Moved by Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator Pellet. The item is before us. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, William Field, Inspector with the Police Department. Item 43-23 is several supplemental appropriations with mostly grant items. I could do them quickly, one at a time if you want. The first one is $218,000 in funds to be received from New York Homeland Security. This is part of our Bomb Squad Initiative grant. This is to assist us in preventing terrorist attacks and strengthening our response to Homeland Security threats. The second one is a supplemental appropriation of $172,413,000, also from the Office of Homeland Security regarding domestic terrorism plans over time to assist, as well as to help coordinate a team for designing and developing this program. The next one is $162,500 received from New York State's Governor Traffic Safety Committee. This is for seatbelt and aggressive driving enforcement. $50,000 was also received from New York State Traffic and Safety Committee. This is for overtime to be set aside to assist in reducing auto crashes involving serious injuries and deaths on New York roads. And the last one is $145,869 from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice. This is part of the Surveillance Apprehension Vehicle Program, which is to assist in combating auto theft and insurance fraud.
Thank you very much. That's a lot. All right, any debate or discussion? Any legislators? All right, any public comment? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mina J. Meriday. Again, always in favor of any types of resources that we can get in for our police department, our public safety, et cetera. We need as many as possible. Again, this may not tie specifically to these particular grants, but I need to put it out there as far as the awareness. I'm glad that the crossing guard in Legislator Dirigi-Witten's area is doing better. We appreciate that, value that, but unfortunately we still have a pressing need. I know locally in the communities we have our officers who attend the local community meetings asking the community for their input to increase the number of crossing guards. I've spoken to police officers on the streets. If we're talking about addressing domestic terrorism and things of that nature, and when a crossing guard, when an officer has to patrol, they have to man that street. And I live on an avenue off of Southern State Parkway that is a danger zone, and unfortunately a lot of the danger are the parents who are trying to get their kids. They can't leave to go address that issue. They can't leave to help the New York State troopers on the parkway to get a potential terrorist because they have to stay on that street corner to protect our seniors and our children. I am begging this audience, I am begging the elected officials to step up their efforts to increase the resources, okay? The $25 an hour, I stood before this body, as you well know, to try to get the 18 to the 25. Okay, fine. But they need some benefits. The officers need the backup support. They're willing to provide the work for crossing guards in these offices so that they can be out here and do this type of work. But we need you to make those choices that are helping us to protect the lives of our residents where we live. The $25 without benefits, not working, okay? It's not a recruitment tool for them to get the qualified individuals to protect our young people and our seniors, and our officers cannot leave their post, and they are now clearly jeopardizing their own safety by trying to provide that. So I'm asking that we look into that seriously, not just me wasting my time when I should be literally back home or on my computer trying to fight for veterans, for their families, for widows, to address the rise in suicides, the rise in medical debt that's impacting our seniors, our veterans, and our young people. So again, I am putting it on the table, on the record. This is 2023. We can do this. I have every confidence that you can put something together that is going to increase the awareness and the access and the viability to get more individuals to work as crossing guards for our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I think that your comments and your feelings are shared by some of us up here. And unfortunately, in the matter of the crossing guards, years ago, many years ago, a vote was taken to change them from full-time employment status to part-time.
Right.
And that was the beginning of the end of having a lot of crossing guards on hand. And the police department has had problems, trying to recruit, because it's $25 an hour, like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at lunchtime, 2 hours at the end of the day, where a school crossing guard used to own or could have that crossing. So it is an issue that, I agree with you. I think it's a disgrace. I think I have been pushing, and I know I could speak for Legislator Walker the same way, that we have been pushing, and we had the sentiment, I think, of the police commissioner when we were at that hearing, that yes, I think that we need to start reversing the trend and change it so that we could start bringing back school crossing guards on a full-time basis, provided with benefits, because they they are of a great service, and they provide a lot of security for the children who cross at their crossings. So yes, we will keep working on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I just wanted to add one quick thing. Thank you for mentioning Carlos Vasquez. I'm trying to get him to come up here. He's doing well, but he's so lucky to be alive. But the other thing is, when you look at the police overtime, because of empty cross, walks or posts, whatever they call them, if you added all that up, it probably would balance out or come close to balancing out the cost of going full-time. So I know
you would save a lot more money.
I believe you're
you would
probably
definitely
right.
save more money with regard to giving them, if nothing else, at least giving them 6 hours as far as full-time. They could come into the office, and we've spoken to the officers, on the ground. And I'm telling you, at least 3 officers have almost been hit on Grand Avenue where we are. And they have to keep assessing the locations where they're crossing, and they have to cut back, and they have to decide, okay, which is crucial and which isn't. We still have kids that are crossing at dangerous locations, particularly in communities of color, where we don't have the backup supports to put somebody else out there on the guard. We don't have the incorporated villages. We don't have that sort of thing. So unless we want to have more compromised and settled with somebody's life or somebody's child or somebody's parent, let's try to be proactive in this.
I agree with you, and Legislator Bino and I, and I'm sure Deborah Muley, we all support that. And, Legislator Bino just mentioned we should try to do some type of study with the police department just to see, just for the cost effectiveness. I think that was the only reason there was a change initially, but, it's something we're very much in
Well,
favor.
this would be an opportunity to get funding from the state with regard to this type of study. So again, it's not necessarily coming from our pockets. We have all of these commissions. We have federal support. Chuck Schumer wants to put money in terms of this type of public safety initiative. But if we don't ask for the money, if we don't ask for the resources to protect our young people and to support these types of endeavors, other communities are getting it and they're benefiting from it, and our communities are suffering.
I totally agree, and I think it's a great opportunity, for moms too. It's a good. The hours are good for a lot of women, so you're talking about the women-owned businesses. It's not a woman-owned business, but it's an opportunity for women that are responsible for children also to have those days off when the kids are off from school, to have the hours that are similar to their kids. So I would love to see their salaries improved, as well as the opportunity for health care and a pension possibly. So I totally agree with you, and maybe we should do a joint letter or something to pursue the funding for the study and whatever study we need. Because again, if it's a matter of money, and we're not saving any money with this effort, then I think it's something that's a no-brainer. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, Maurice? Hi, I guess we're going to ask if you would be able to take a look at that and do a study for us to see if we, you know what the comparison is, if we then made an effort to switch the school crossing guards back to full-time?
Maurice Chalmers, budget review. We'll see what we could prepare on that for you.
Because, I mean, I'm sure that if they take a look at all of the crossings that had to be taken over by a police officer, you know, because it's true, they cannot leave that post regardless of what is happening, you know, and so I guess when you equate basically their salaries as compared to the $25 an hour, you know, we might pay somebody, you know, to work, you know, but then how much, I don't know what the school crossing guards are getting now on full-time, right? I don't think their salaries went up that much, but along with their benefits.
The financial part of it should be pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah.
What's going to be difficult is finding out how many posts and other people that are covering that.
Yeah.
That part is probably going to have to come from the police department. But the cost of a crossing guard now at a part-time status versus a full-time is easy to figure out. But
okay, so we
how
could start
many
there.
people, that will probably have to come from PD.
Hi, Maurice.
Hello, Zena.
So your point is valid. That's going to be the challenge, right? Figuring out the PD number, because it's not always the officer who's at the crossing that's getting the overtime. It could be officers they're being held over because these officers are now off the street. So that's probably where the challenge comes in. But if we can't identify that number, you know, in a very clear and concise way, then I would ask that you come back to us and let us know that, because then perhaps our next request then is to the police commissioner to request that he isolate that overtime number for us moving into the future, so that we can make the projection and determine what's the cost benefit analysis of going full time.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of passing this item, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The item passes unanimously. There's no other business in front of this committee. May I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Legislator Bino, seconded by Legislator Walker. All those in favor? The committee is now adjourned.
Veterans out of order.
Veterans Committee is next up.
All right, at this time, I will call the Veterans Committee to order. I will ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Thank you. Veterans Committee roll call. Legislator Joshua Lafazan, Delia DeRiggi-Whitten, Ranking Member Deborah Muley, Legislator Mazi Palip, Legislator Rose Walker, Vice Chairman C. William Gabriel III, Chairman James Kennedy.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Great. All right, there is one item on the agenda today, which is clerk item number 45-22. Clerk item number 4522 is a resolution to accept a gift offered. 23?
Yeah, 23.
Sorry, 23. 4523 is a resolution to accept a gift offered by the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 325, Garden City, to the Nassau County Veterans Service Agency. Moved by Legislator Walker, seconded by Legislator Muley. Okay, this item is before us. Who is here from the administration to speak to us? Hi, Ralph.
Ralph Esposito, Veterans Service Agency Director. Thank you all so very much. As you know, this is our 7th vehicle that we had donated to the county. And we're very happy that we're able to transport our veterans to these 4 different locations: Northport, Valley Stream, Hicksville, and East Meadow. And I want to thank you all for supporting us all the time. You are the best, believe me. Just instead of taking money, I'm giving money. So thank you again, and hope to see you soon with more vehicles.
Thank you, Ralph, and you are the greatest as well. Thank you. Any debate or discussion? Legislator Muley. Sorry.
Hi, Ralph. Is this a brand-new vehicle?
Brand new wheelchair van, $66,000.
Okay. So, and it covers everything that you want it to, for your, yeah, okay, for
Yes.
the veterans. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
Ralph, before you go anywhere, it's Delia. Good work on this, by the way. I think that's awesome.
It's not easy.
And I just want to say, it hasn't happened yet, but do you remember we spoke about that monument for Glen, that's supposed to be on today? So
Oh, thank you so much for that also.
we'll keep you in the loop for that, but thank you.
You're welcome. We're the model service agency of the state of New York. Just want you all to know that.
Thank you, Ralph. Is there any public comment? Okay.
Rita J. Maraday, always excited about any resources that are going to our Veteran Services Agency, and I'm hoping that, again, that this body will look into what we can actually do to uplift and enhance the services at our many VFW halls, American Legion halls. I know that that grant that was put out to provide ramps and things of that nature was very helpful, but again, this is an opportunity at this time period that we can look into generating funds for our veterans right where they live, particularly where we are, the climates, the most recent scenario where we had the drop in temperature, where we had a lot of our residents, particularly our older veterans who were potentially in jeopardy, those who are homeless, not having any type of space or location to go. We had to set up impromptu heating, cooling centers in the summertime, and we need to also look at those scenarios for facilities in the wintertime. And I think, again, there are resources that are available through national organizations, American Legion, VFW, that we can bring again into Nassau County that, again, brings money and resources to the county and does not add an additional burden to our overstrained pocket. So I'm very excited about this donation, and I'm hoping that we can use this as a stepping stone for even further types of enhancements for our veterans and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maraday.
James?
Yes.
Yeah, Mita, thank you for bringing that up about warming centers. You don't even, it's, yeah. So I'm sure that all the legislators put out last weekend about the warming centers that are available here in Nassau County. Of course, they're available to anybody who needs them. And whatever we can do to advertise that of course is available to everyone, not just veterans. So thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right. Item passes unanimously by a vote of 7-0. There is no other business in front of this committee. May I have a motion to adjourn? Legislator Gaylor, seconded by Legislator Dirigi Witten. All those in favor? This committee is adjourned. Thank you. Planning is next.
This time I'll call the Planning, Development, and Environment Committee to order. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Chairwoman. Legislator Arnold Drucker. Thank you. Legislator Sheila Bino. Ranking Member Carrier Solage. Thank you. Legislator Denise Ford. Legislator John Giuffre.
Here.
Vice Chairman Thomas McKevitt.
Here.
Chairwoman Laura Schaefer.
Here.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you.
Clerk, can I ask you a personal favor? Can I substitute for Legislator by now? She's just in the middle of something.
Will do. Thank you. For the record.
Okay, we have one item on the agenda today. It's clerk item number 66-23. Clerk item number 66-23 is an ordinance making certain determinations pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act regarding an amendment to a license and operating agreement between the County of Nassau and Cornell Cooperative Extension of Nassau County, and authorizing the county executive of the County of Nassau to execute said amendment and all pertinent documents in connection therewith. May I have a motion? Moved by Legislator Giuffre, seconded by Legislator Salages. Okay, the item is before us.
Good afternoon, Ken Arnold, Public Works. This is an existing license that Cornell Cooperative has with regards to the East Meadow Farm. This amendment will extend the license for 10 years and will increase the premise for the building of a educational facility on the property. The county providing $400,000. The remainder is coming from grants that Cornell is securing. I'm here for any questions.
Okay, any legislators have any questions?
Yes.
Legislator McKevitt.
Yes, Commissioner. Just to go and just reiterate, this was Cornell's already had a long-term agreement with the county, and this is just take over that additional corner parcel at the corner of Merrick Avenue in Ludington, where there used to be an old house there where there was a fire a couple years ago, correct?
That is correct. There used to be a house on the property that was part of the Smith and DeGroat's portfolio.
Right.
When the fire, we did not put it back into service. We demolished the house probably last year, and Cornell is utilizing that property for this educational center.
Yeah, I just want to thank your department because I know it was quite an eyesore for quite a while. I know the county went out and demolished it. There's a lot of work involved with that. But again, a lot of residents of East Meadow asked me for quite some time to do that. I just want to thank your department for the work on that.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other legislators? Okay, any public comment on this item? There being none, all those in favor of passing this item, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the item passes unanimously. There is no other business in front of this committee. May I please have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Legislator McKevitt, seconded by Legislator Ford. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Planning is now adjourned. Public Works will be next.
John, I'm sorry. He is moving over towards you. You want anything?
At this time, I'll call the Public Works Committee to order. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Chairman. Roll call, Public Works and Parks. Legislator Carrier Solage. Thank you. Legislator Arnold Drucker. Filling in for Ms. Bino is Delia DeRuggi-Witten. Thank you. Legislator James Kennedy. Legislator Laura Schaefer. Vice Chairman John Giuffre.
Here.
Thank you. Chairman C. William Gable III. We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. So we have one item on the agenda today, which is clerk item number 44-23. 44-23 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an amendment to an agreement with the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation in relation to the New York State Septic System Replacement Program. May I have a motion? Moved by legislator Schaefer, seconded by legislator Giuffre. It's the items before us. I see we have Commissioner Arnold already at the podium. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ken Arnold, Commissioner of Public Works. Item 44-23 is an amendment to an agreement with the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for grant funds associated with the installation of septic tank systems on private properties. This is the third grant received, totaling $2.03 million, bringing the total cap to $4.03 million for this contract. The county is also contributing funds to ARP. Currently, we have approved $5 million for that. I'm here for any questions.
Okay, just a couple of questions. Do you know how much money we've already spent on this program to homeowners?
I know we sent that over. Let me look it up. So we've spent $836,000 in total for both ARP and EFC funding.
Okay, oh, that's good. And do we have a program to get the word out to the homeowners? Is there a public relations campaign to let them know, replace your old septic and you're eligible for the grant money?
Yes, we do. We have a contract with the Soil and Water Conservation District, who's managing this for the department. They do quite a bit of outreach, both going to industry conventions, social media, attending different meetings with officials, and they're pushing that message.
And I guess just because I don't know, how does one apply for these funds, for this grant application? Is it similar to going online and making a request? Or?
Yeah, we have an online portal that's on the Public Works website. I can get you that information. I don't have I think it's just a link on the website. But any resident can go to the website and get on the portal that way.
Okay, and that's the Department of Public Works website.
Let me confirm. It may not be the DPW. Let me double check that. I know there's a web link. I have it, but I can't tell you if it's Public Works.
I just want those who are listening that aren't here, to see it. So maybe you could put a link on your website as well. Or
yeah, I'll talk to Soil and Water, make sure we get that word out to everybody.
If you want, send it over to us, and we'll put it out as well.
Yes.
As a link on our legislative pages. Okay, appreciate that. Is there any? Yeah, go ahead, Legislator Shaver.
Commissioner Arnold?
Yes.
Hi. Is this? I guess is this project going anywhere towards like Point Lookout as well, or as I know we're mainly North Shore right now we're talking about, but did you know?
I don't think it's prohibited to be Point Lookout. I know we have a separate project looking at sewering Point Lookout that we're working on bringing on a consultant.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that if somebody from Point Lookout applied for it, we would say no to them. Okay. But I know this is for enhanced septic treatment, so I think there's a limitation on the amount of property you need to do that. So Point Lookout might be problematic for some certain homeowners, but I don't believe that we are denying anybody because of their location. It's anybody that's using septic that we would take an application from.
Okay, thank you.
Ken, I just want to thank you because this has made a huge difference. I think 90% of Nassau is sewered, and out of the 10% that's not sewered, I think 90% are in my area. So I appreciate it, and Legislator Lafson. So just real quick, but out of the 836,000, well, how many homes approximately would you say have now taken advantage of this?
I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay, I'm just curious, but if you happen to have it at some point, I'd like to do a follow-up press release.
No, I don't have the number of homes in front of me, no.
And I just want to do a little PR thing. If you speak to anyone, these septic systems, I've learned a lot about sewers and septic systems as a legislator, but anyway, they're fantastic compared to the old model of brick and mortar or cinder blocks. I know Ken can speak further, but the amount of nitrogen and other contaminants leaking into the soil or water table are diminished by a very good amount. So it's not only is it replacing your septic, but it's improving it to a point that is really worth doing, especially since we all live on our water, so our water source. Thank you, Ken.
Welcome.
Any public comment? So all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, the item passes unanimously. Before I close, though, I do, since we have the commissioner, I wanted to ask a question on one issue. And it was an issue that was talked about and debated extensively in the public safety hearing 2 months ago. That was the roof to the jail. It was going to be an emergency piece of legislation, I guess, emergency request made to work on the roof. It's been 2 months, and I haven't seen anything come up before this committee or through the clerk's office. Can you give me an update on the status of the roof at the jail?
So currently, the department is still proceeding as it's an emergency. There has been no declaration made yet. I'm working with the county attorney and the DCE Fox on that item, but the department's intent is we should have a mechanical bid solicitation going out February 17th for the mechanical equipment in anticipation of doing the roof. So we're still on track for that work.
So, and the mechanical is like the HVAC?
Yes, because as I said in the hearing, the issue is that I have to replace the mechanical equipment to do the roof over, and most of that mechanical equipment is past its useful life. So it became a dual project.
Okay, so you'll get those estimates in and then make the emergency declaration?
I'm hoping they get it done about the same time. That's my goal.
Okay, all right, thank you, Commissioner, for the update. Anybody else have any questions of the Commissioner? All right, there being no other business in front of this committee, may I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Legislator Salages, seconded by Legislator Drucker. The happy two over there. All those in favor? Aye. All right, the committee is now adjourned. Finance will be up next.
Finance Committee members, would you come to the floor, please? Mike, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chairman. Finance roll call. Legislator Joshua Lafazan. Legislator Carrie Solage. Ranking Member Arnold Drucker. Legislator Rosemarie Walker. Legislator Thomas McKevitt. Vice Chairman John Ferretti. Thank you. Chairman Howard Copel. We have a quorum, sir.
Fine. Okay, we're going to start with a motion to suspend the rules made by Mr. McKevitt, and it's seconded by Mr. Solage. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Any opposed? The rules are suspended. Okay, we've got two consent items, and these two items have gone through previous committees, and no further debate or discussion is necessary. And those would be numbers 43 of 23 and 44 of 23. Motion by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Lafazan. All those in favor of 43 and 44, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay. So let's start now with number 39, which is a resolution authorizing the county executive to enter into and execute amendments to existing county contracts with the Nassau County Council of Chambers. And we have a motion by Mr. Ferretti, seconded by Mr. Drucker. Do we have anyone here on number 39?
Good afternoon, legislators. My name is Lionel Chitty. I'm the Executive Director for the Nassau County Office of Minority Affairs.
Yes, tell us about the item, please.
This specific item is for the Nassau Council of Chambers of Commerce to receive funding up to $600,000 in ARPA funding. This funding is to help support the Nassau County small businesses. This is a re-grant. The $600,000 will be going to the Nassau Council and be redistributed to all the local chambers of commerce and business improvement districts to be able to help in technical assistance with any and all small businesses within Nassau County.
Okay, do we have any questions? Hearing none, thank you. All those in favor of this item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Next one is number 40, which is a resolution providing the issuance of a warrant, directing the treasurer to pay the supervisors of the various towns and villages treasurers sums apportioned by the legislature in respect of mortgage tax. And that motion is made by Mr. McKevitt and seconded by Mr. Drucker. And we don't see anyone here, but basically the year over year, I believe it's down close to 40%. Push the button, please.
Helen Carlson, Office of Legislative Budget Review. Yes, year to year it's down 39.6%.
Yeah. Okay. Great news. It's not unexpected, though.
This represents the collections from October 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022.
Right. Okay. Any questions? Okay. All those in favor of this item, number 40 of 23, please say aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you, Carlson. Number 42 authorizes a transfer of appropriations. And it's moved by Ms. Walker and seconded by Mr. Lafazan. Go on, please.
Andy Simone, Health Department. Item 42-23 is a budget transfer in the amount of $1,524 to maximize grant funding for the STD Disease Intervention Services Grant.
And the source of the funds?
New York State Department of Health.
Okay. No county funds. Good. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of that number, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Number 50 is a resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement, an IMA, between Nassau County Department of Information and Technology and various agencies in the New York State of Information Technology Services and Homeland Security and Emergency Services. Number 50 is, the motion is by Mr. Ferretti, seconded by Mr. Solage.
Good afternoon, Joe Giacovini, Deputy Commissioner Information Technology. 5023 is a resolution authorizing an interagency, intergovernmental agreement on behalf of the Nassau County Department of Information Technology and various agencies and the New York State Office of Information Technology Services and the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services to provide endpoint detection and response software called CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is an EDR that provides for cybersecurity wall to prevent, detect, and capture malware. An EDR, endpoint detection and response tool, is an integrated approach to endpoint protection that combines real-time continuous monitoring and endpoint data analytics with rule-based automated response. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Wasn't that the company involved with that Hillary Clinton server business?
I certainly hope not.
Was it? No, I don't know. Somehow or another, it sticks in my. I can be totally wrong, but I somehow. I'm starting trouble. Okay, it's possible. I've done that before. I guess not. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now we're going to
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go to the addendum, and I'll call a bunch together which all refer to correcting assessments or exempt properties. And those would be numbers 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, and 64. Motion by Mr. McKevitt, seconded by Ms. Walker. And we all know what those are. Any discussion on those items? Okay, all those in favor of those items, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, number 66 is an ordinance making secret determinations in respect of an amendment to an agreement with Cornell Cooperative. Motion by Mr. Drucker, seconded by Mr. Lafazan. Anybody here on 66? Mr. Walsh.
Good afternoon, legislators. Kevin Walsh from the Office of Real Estate Services. This agreement is actually an amendment to a license agreement the county has with Cornell Cooperative Extension for the East Meadow Farm on Merrick Avenue. And the amendment achieves two things. First of all, there's a portion of the property, a portion of small property adjacent to the existing site is going to be added to it. It had been the site of a small residential building we got with the open space acquisition. The building had to be raised after it had some fire damage during the pandemic. But now Cornell plans to build a dynamic learning center there so they can further engage the community and the local schools. And they have a matching grant from Covanta. Covanta, I think, is donating $400,000, and the county will be providing matching grant funds. Also, the amendment does extend the term for Cornell until 2040, so they can, continue to fundraise and continue to provide the wonderful programs to the community.
Thank you. Kevin, any questions for Mr. Walsh? Hearing none, all those in favor of this item, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that item is unanimous. Now, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
I will call the final items, which are a number of settlements of various litigation items, and those would be numbers 47, which is an action entitled Feliz Coelho versus Nassau, 48, which is Morales versus Nassau, 49, which is SIB Realty and Winter Realty, 50, no, we did 50. 51 is Shelvin Plaza Associates against Nassau, and 52 is Verizon New York Inc. Versus Nassau. Motion by Mr. McKevitt, seconded by Mr. Drucker. Now I need a motion for executive session. That motion is made by Ms. Walker and seconded by Ms. Lafazan. All those in favor of executive session, please say aye. Any opposed to executive session? We're in executive session. Thank you. All those members are invited into the room over there, together with members of the Rules Committee as well. Okay, we're back. By the way, this just going to say, this CrowdStrike thing, they actually were. Trump had this conspiracy theory, and a lot of people followed it, that they were involved with that server, and somehow it got involved with the DNC hacking and all that stuff. So the name stuck in my head, but it was there. I'm still talking. I'm going to keep on talking about it. I'm just explaining why I mentioned it. Anyway, let's finish this off. The new what?
I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
You don't want to know. All right. Number 47, 48, 49, 51, and 52. All those in favor of those items, please say aye. Any opposed? Those items are unanimous. Mr. Ferretti moves to adjourn, and Mr. Lafazan seconds it. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned, and we're back to rules.
Going to call the Rules Committee back into session. We have a number of items on the consent calendar, which went through committees earlier. And those items include items 39, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 47, 48, 49, 51, 52, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, and 66. So I'll take a motion for those items moved by Deputy Presiding Officer Copel, seconded by Minority Leader Abrahams. Before we vote on them, we need a motion to suspend the rules. Moved by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator Dufresne. All in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Now we can vote on the items on the consent calendar. Any debated discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. Item 14 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the Garden City Park Water Fire District in relation to a project to provide funding for the purchase of a new vehicle extraction and rescue equipment. I'll make that motion, seconded by Legislator Dufresne. Any debate or discussion? Any public comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. Item 41 is a local law to amend Section 6-2.6 of Title A of Chapter 6 of the Administrative Code of Nassau County in relation to reducing the number of years volunteers need to serve to receive partial exemption from taxation for volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers. Moved by Minority Leader Abrahams, seconded by Deputy Presiding Officer Copel. Any debate or discussion on this item? No. Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. Item 46, a resolution to exchange a horse previously donated by the County of Nassau by the Nassau County Police Department Foundation to the County Police Department for a horse of equivalent value. Offered by Indian Head Ranch to the Nassau County Police Department. Motion by Legislator DeReggie Whitten, seconded by Legislator Dufresne. Inspector Field, I think we need to know about this one. Yeah. So first, what does a horse of equivalent value mean?
We had the commanding officer of our mounted unit or someone, his delegee, they take a look at the horse to make sure that it's about similar to what we need specifically for our functions.
So what happened here, though, that we're swapping out these horses?
Some horses, from my understanding is, some horses are more suitable to the training and the actual operations of the police mounted unit. Just a couple of ideas, a couple of things would be dealing with crowds, being able to handle loud noises, confined areas and spaces, being able to take direction and things like that. So,
Plans it?
So it's a bad horse. So where is the bad horse going to go? It's going to go back?
Pepper is going to be relocated to the Indian, I believe it's the Indian Head Ranch in Suffolk County,
Pepper?
where they're going to take care of Pepper and make sure that they're taking all responsibility of his well-being.
There are some legislators up here whose spouses take care of kittens. Maybe they'll take a horse.
I'm sure he'll be well taken care of.
Where is Indian Head Ranch? Because I know it used to be right in Woodbury, right on Jericho Turnpike, but they closed down. There's condos there now.
I believe it's in Deer Park.
Oh, so they just moved further out east?
No, Central Islip, Deer Path Road.
Interesting.
According
Okay.
to there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's weird.
Any public comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. Item 50 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an intermunicipal agreement between the county and the New York State Office of Information Technology Services and the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services to provide endpoint detection and software response software. Motion by Legislator Bino, seconded by Legislator Schaefer.
Good afternoon, Joe Giacovini, Deputy Commissioner, Information Technology. 5023 is a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement on behalf of Nassau County Department of Information Technology and various agencies and the New York State Office of Information Technology Services and the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services to provide endpoint detection and response software called CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is an EDR that provides for a cybersecurity wall to prevent, detect, and capture malware. An EDR, endpoint detection and response tool, is an integrated approach to the endpoint protection that combines real-time continuous monitoring and endpoint data analytics with rule-based automated responses. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any public comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. 53 is a resolution requesting the legislature of the state of New York to enact and the governor to approve an act to amend a chapter of the laws of 2022 relating to authorizing the assessor of the county of Nassau to accept from the Mineola Union Free School District an application for exemption of real property as proposed in legislative bills numbers S38940-A and A 9981-A. Okay, yeah, this is filed by the majority. This corresponds to bills that were introduced by legislator Assemblyman Ra and Senator Thomas. And if we have any questions, maybe, please let us know. We'll get them to you before the next full legislature. All right, any debated discussion? Any public comment? There was no motion on that one? Okay. Motion by Legislator Frey, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. Any debated discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. '5423 is a resolution to confirm the county executive's appointment of Anthony LaRocco to the position of sheriff of the county of Nassau. Motion by Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. Any debated discussion? Usually when we get the appointments, the committees are generally the opportunity to tee them up for the full legislature, in which the individuals usually appear and answer questions. Most of these came late last week, some Friday, and actually some today. But in any event, any debated discussion on 54 with the sheriff? So, Legislator Reggie Whitten.
Thank you. I want to just express that we did have a hearing. It was held by Chairwoman Denise Ford, and there were a number of concerns that we were told we would be getting updates on. Some are capital, which I can understand have just been filed, such as the HVAC and roof, as was addressed today, so we're okay with that. But there were a number of other things that we were assured that we would be given responses to. So one of them is regarding the maintenance employees and how many were assigned to the jails and how they were, what their assignments were as far as cleaning especially the HVAC system. There were questions regarding visitors and how we were going to try to be addressing their facilities as far as those that had to wait outside. We were also asking about the overtime, which we were also told we were going to get a report on, or more information on. And to be honest, my concern was, although the sign, what is he now? He's almost Sheriff LaRocco did not, acting Sheriff LaRocco was not familiar with a number of the programs that we really fought for, in my opinion, from different types of rehab for not only the inmates, but also just different mental health programs that we had put into place. I found that he wasn't aware of them. His statement on the record was that he hadn't visited all the buildings. So I really, as a legislator, I am concerned about his actual role with running the jail. It sounds to me that he is not involved with day in and day out operations and policies. And I'm honestly concerned with some of the sub-members there that might be in turn doing more than the sheriff as far as running the jail. And I know I kind of came down hard on Deputy County Executive Fox during the hearing, and I know that some of the other legislators didn't approve of that, but we've already lost one person this year. It was December or January, and I was here when we were losing many, many people, and we all worked together to correct that problem, in my opinion, by switching the health care program. But I don't want to see it go back, and we are responsible for these people's lives. It's something that I am upset about, that I do take serious, and I wanted the answers to these questions. We were told we would get them, and the follow-up, I haven't received any follow-up from Deputy County Executive Fox or anyone else. So at this point, we're going to vote no, but I would think it would be good to get the answers to a number of these questions provided prior to the full ledge, regardless of what my personal vote is, just so that we're all informed. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, it moves forward by a vote of 4-3. Next two items are intermunicipal agreements. There's 67 and 68. These are resolutions authorizing the county executive to enter intermunicipal agreements with the village of Seacliff in relation to a project to procure and install playground equipment, as well as Glen Cove in relation to improvements to the Veterans Memorial Monument Park. Moved by Legislator DeReggie Whitten, seconded by Legislator Bino. Any debate or discussion on these? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? That carries unanimously. Sure. So the next number of appointments are 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. These are resolutions to confirm the county executive's appointment of Gennaro Cesarano to assessment, Arnold Palesci to the Bridge Authority, Louis DeGrazia to sewer and stormwater finance, John DeGrace to the Nassau Community College Board of Trustees, Dana Durso to the Nassau County Planning Commission, Anthony Licatasi to the Nassau County Bridge Authority, and John DeGrace to the Board of Trustees. They're called John DeGrace twice because there's two separate resolutions. In any event, any debate or discussion on these appointments? Thank you. Motion by Deputy Presiding Officer Copel, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. Any debate or discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, those abstaining? You guys are abstaining, right? Okay, so it passes by a vote of 4 in the affirmative and 3 abstentions. Motion to adjourn, Legislator Dufresne, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, we're adjourned. We'll see. Oh.